It's a bond issue, it's an NCD issue, but along with the NCDs, we've attached warrants. So the total amount we have received by way of NCD is 5,000 crores. Now the warrants carry a face value of 14 rupees and entitle the warrant holder to come to us anytime during the next 3 years and buy a share of HDFC at a price of 1,475 rupees. The SEBI floor price, now SEBI has a formula based on which you can issue shares. Based on that formula, the formula price was 1,189 rupees. So if you take 1,189 and the 1,475 which we will receive plus the 14 rupees per warrant which we have received now, it tantamounts to a premium of about 25.2% over the SEBI floor price. So what we received now is 5,050 crores. What we will receive on conversion will be an aggregate of 5,380 odd crores, assuming all the warrants convert.
Assuming that all the warrants are converted, what will be the dilution in equity?
See, the maximum dilution that can happen if all the warrants convert into shares will be 2.2%. So that is the maximum. So shareholder approval says that we cannot dilute more than 2.2%. That will be the maximum dilution.
What is the purpose of this fundraising? Because you are quite comfortable on your tier 1 capital.
So the advantage of this instrument is that it gives us the ability to generate money today and get capital at a future date. We don't need capital today. Our capital adequacy is fairly comfortable or reasonably comfortable. But over a period of the next 3 years, we would require capital for a variety of reasons. One reason could be theoretically HDFC Bank may want to do an issue. We may not want to get diluted further. That could be one example. Another thing could be that growth continues to remain strong. As growth remains strong, it starts consuming some amount of capital. So requirement of capital may come up 3 years later, and this instrument then gives us the ability of getting money today on the NCD at a low rate, at a rate of 1.43%, and also the ability to get capital over the next 3 years at a premium of 25% to the SEBI floor price.
And how is the demand to this particular issue? Because there was an equity
demand, what we understand from market sources is good. The instrument will get traded tomorrow. The warrant will get traded. My sense is tomorrow. We have applied for permission to the exchanges to trade the warrant. Once we get the permission, the trading will happen. If the permission comes today, my guess is the trading would happen tomorrow.
And what is the key benefit of listing it on NSE and BSE?
At the end of the day, we want liquidity in the warrant. So people can subscribe to the warrant. First of all, you need to understand this is only a domestic warrant. It is not for international investors presently. If the rules, SEBI rules change, if RBI rules change, then in future it is possible, theoretically possible, that foreigners may be allowed to buy. But today it is applicable only to domestic investors. SEBI rules may not change, RBI rules may not change, and it may never be applicable to foreigners. We do not know. So today it's only for domestic investors, and by listing it in the market, there is enough liquidity that gets generated.
Mr. Mistry, how will this particular bit that RBI has stated to give some comfort to the low cost value housing that is bringing down the risk weightage is concerned, how will that
So
really
what you need to understand here is that the risk weights determine the amount of capital that a company puts into giving of a housing loan. So when you give a housing loan, there is some amount of capital that you allocate for that loan. So if the quantum of capital, now the capital is a function of the risk weight. The higher the risk weight, the more the capital you allocate when doing a loan. The lower the risk weight, obviously you allocate less capital. If you allocate less capital, the return on equity goes higher. So once the RBI scheme is announced on what is the definition of affordable housing, what loans will attract a require lower risk weight, what would the lower risk weight is, then the quantum of capital that is put in doing those loans reduces, and therefore the return on equity on those loans inches up a little bit.
So this, along with the home loan rates coming down, do you think that will spur a lot of demand in the housing sector? How do you see it?
See, the affordable, I can't again talk of numbers because we are in a closed period now. We can only talk of numbers up to 30th of June. So if you look at figures up to 30th June, demand for housing loans from the individual home loan customers never slowed down. So the growth remained fairly strong. I repeat, I'm talking only numbers up to June. I'm not talking of the current quarter because this is not in public domain at the moment.
And what do you think about loan against property market? Because a lot of experts feel that there is a bubble getting created.
See, we don't do too much of loans against properties. We have a very, very small portfolio of loans against properties, and the way we appraise a loan against property is exactly the same way as we appraise a housing loan. So we look at what the person needs the money for, his repayment capacity, how he'll service the loan. On that basis, we do lending. We don't just lend money because someone is mortgaging a property and that we will lend X% of the value of the property as a loan.
Mr. Mistry, one more thing, SLR cut is something that RBI has stated, and it is going to reach 20% in a phased manner. How is that going to impact the dynamics at HDFC Group? HDFC Bank merger looks more imminent because of that now?
No, I mean a cut of 0.25% or 0.5% or 1% in SLR is not necessarily enough to by itself stimulate or result in a decision to look at a merger. It's something which makes sense from a long-term perspective, and it's something we keep revisiting.
Any SLR number you can give which would be more comfortable for the merger to happen?
I cannot give you anything. There's no number. There's no scientific number saying if it's this percent it happens or if it's that percent it doesn't happen.
Because you did say earlier that regulatory concerns are the only concerns,
That's
and
right.
SLR is one of the biggest.
SLR, priority sector, CRR, there are a lot of these things.
Find us on Facebook at facebook.com/ETNow, and don't forget to click the like button. You can also follow us on Twitter at ETNowLive. To stay updated with all our programming, hit the subscribe button on our YouTube channel by logging on to youtube.com/user/ETNow.